It's time for Screen Junkies Movie Fights.
A little William Hung before bed.
We're live.
We're live now.
Hey,
Wow, you know what? It was bound to happen sometime, I guess. You get a 30 seconds, and then you get a we're live. Damn glad to be here. Movie fights. You just heard me quoting Ricky Martin and William Hung. She bangs.
And we don't know if they're separate entities.
We are way off the rails, but let me ask you a question. Where the F my owls at? Hoot, hoot. Percival is in the house. Hashtag Owl Nation. We got an awesome fight. We're going to talk about some exciting stuff that's dropping this weekend, and we got some great questions and some great fighters. Let's meet the combatants. First, he is the longest reigning holder of the bathroom key for Screen Junkies. You know him from the Real Rejects, and he's just quite a formidable combatant here. Greg Alba, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you, Hal. You know, I haven't missed an episode of Movie Fight since you started hosting. I still don't know what the hell Owl Nation is.
Let me tell you. What is Owl Nation? It's whatever you want it to be.
I like that.
And all are welcome. All are welcome. There you go. That's
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yep.
I'm happy to be here. Back with Sasha on this table. Oh yeah, rematch. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. We got Sasha. Before we get to Sasha, I want to welcome from her podcast, Everything's Coming Up Simpsons, breaking down how many seasons of The Simpsons?
Woo! We are approaching 32.
Woo!
We don't do every episode, though. And we'll probably end before The Simpsons does.
Yeah, right?
That's the irony of it.
Everything will end before
I
The
know,
Simpsons does.
that's
It will be
also
running in
true.
perpetuity when the Earth is in flames. Julia Prescott, welcome back to the party.
I want to say hi to all the people in Prescott Nation. That's a nation that I share with, I believe there's a football player whose last name is Prescott too right now.
Sounds like a little bit of a rogue nation to me.
A little rogue.
But Julia, welcome to you and all members of Prescott Nation. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, I was just enjoying, I was hanging out, watching TV. I put on FX. Captain America Winter Soldiers was on, one of my top 3 favorite Marvel films. And it was FX movie download, so it was like I was watching with Sasha PERL-RAVER.
Welcome. So nice to be
one
here
of
in
the
the flesh,
co-hosts.
Hi, guys.
Great to have you back.
Well, this isn't going to be Prescott Nation or Owl Nation. This is Sausage Perv Craver Nation.
Whoa.
If you've been Screen Junkies long enough, you know what that's all about. Handsome gave me that title.
This is a regular United Nations of weird crap today.
Because we bang.
Yes.
It started weird,
baby.
it's going to end weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. You guys, this is a great collection of fighters. I'm very excited for this and making sense of the festivities, myself and the Dan Cam. We got Dan Murrell. Whoa! Whoa!
There are 3 bells over here.
Yeah, Bell Nation.
Well, I don't know why there are 3 bells, but I just walked in and there were 3 bells. So
Well, there were 2 and then they had a baby.
yeah,
Yes.
Because they
That's how
really
Bell-
loved each other.
Yeah, that's how bells reproduce. Dan, you're going to be holding it down in the fact zone today.
Yes.
Excellent. And good luck choosing a bell for the speed round.
I don't know, right? I feel like it's like a shell game around here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Dan,
yeah.
you're cosplaying. Dan's cosplaying as the opening title sequence of Downton Abbey today, so that's very.
I am?
No one?
Oh, yes, they ring the
I
bells.
see.
The bells
They ring
ring.
the
Yes.
bells.
Yes.
That's literally the only thing that happens in Downton Abbey. And it's a hit show. Anyway, I'm sorry.
And Matthew died.
Matthew, but
Sorry, it's been off for years. And we have just a wonderful ray of sunshine who will be the voice of the people, as per usual, Ms. Danielle Radford.
Hello, and thank you. And so, for those of you who do not know how this works, in case there is a tie or, we just need a deciding vote, that will be up to y'all. There are lots of really fun polls on the Twitter, but the one that counts is the one that is on YouTube. If you have any questions about how that works, click in the description below, ask someone in the chat. Any of the mods would be happy to help you through that. Also, in addition, if you go to the Twitter, #MovieFightsLive, you guys always come up with wonderful answers, dank memes, as you all know, other great things. And so if you go in there and you're tweeting and I like what I see, I might go ahead and shout you out on the show, which would be really fun.
Heck yes. Danielle, thank you for breaking that down. And again, we have 3 fighters. The first one of them to achieve 4 points will be our winner. The top 2 combatants after the first 3 rounds will head on into the speed round where it's anybody's game. You can be down big going into the speed round and make a furious comeback.
A Fast and Furious comeback?
Oh!
She did it.
I'm wearing to apologize for that horrible speed round where I actually disparaged my beloved franchise. I had to. I went for that point.
You know what?
Maybe Familia as well.
Oh, yes!
You know, I've been on the ride. Brag.
Nicely done. Fast Furious, Universal Studios. Maybe you can make up for that today. We shall see. Let's embark on this journey. JTE, please drop that sick-ass package.
Prepare to die.
Ladies and gentlemen.
How long were we live before?
Would have
Landed perfectly.
Thank you, Thor. Okay, so I'm pretty excited. I have not seen it yet. Jordan Peele's Us hits theaters this weekend. So we ask you, since Jordan Peele has established himself as a master of horror, what classic horror film would you most want to see Jordan Peele remake? What classic horror film do you want to see Jordan Peele remake? And we'll start with player number 1, Greg.
Yeah, when it comes to this question, I factored in the strengths that Jordan Peele has demonstrated with his films that he's directed, and he clearly excels at psychological horror films with social commentary infused. You know, Julia's got this stare, like this, like really,
Why don't you
really
focus
strong
on your notes,
stare.
dude?
Yeah, it's a strong stare.
Congrats,
Like looking
you're-
in my soul right now.
Yeah, you just got in his head.
I know. Congrats, I'm in a Jordan Peele movie
all right,
now,
let's do
guys.
this. Okay, bam. Okay, so usually he excels at psychological horror films with social commentary infused, usually with an African-American focus, which I remember him saying that's the kind of genre he wishes to focus on. And from what I hear about Us, so many people come back reporting the film has all those elements, and even inklings of Twilight Zone or Black Mirror horror genres spliced with sci-fi in there. So when I thought, what horror movie could Jordan Peele not only remake, but definitely improve upon, the answer for me was Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Hood is a 90s horror anthology movie. It's about a funeral director who tells 4 strange tales of horror with an African-American focus to 3 drug dealers he traps in his place of business. And it's a film with multiple stories. It covers police brutality with a zombie twist, domestic violence with a voodoo twist, racism in a political campaign with a poltergeist angle, and gang violence with a prison exploitation angle. And usually with remakes, we always ask the question of why. We tend to remake movies that are already great. Movies that deserve remakes are ones that had great potential but didn't quite hit it with its execution. And even though this film has generated a cult following, it's not certified fresh among critics, and the audience score is fresh, but it's not glowing. So it's a film that has great concepts, but its execution could be a lot sharper all around. Jordan Peele has proven he can blend horror and comedy seamlessly, and he can improve upon this. I'll end it there.
All right. By the way, all 3 of you are fresh and glowing. Julia,
That's from the
what do you
ride
got?
over here. I am suggesting that Jordan Peele remake The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick classic. Now, I know that a lot of people are very precious with this because it is a masterpiece, but I also want to point out that, you know, reboots can get, you know, really exciting if it's a franchise or if it's, you know, a movie that we are all very familiar with and very excited about. And I think that Jordan Peele, much in the way that you were pointing out, you know, gives his own social commentary through his horror and his suspense. I think that he could add, you know, an extra element to that movie that we haven't seen before. And I also think that, as we've seen with Get Out, that he plays really well with very simple setups, very simple environments, and sort of, you know, tripping on like the psychological suspense of slowly going mad. I think that that's something that's going to really excite audiences. And I just think that y'all's others' suggestions are bad.
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, so
You haven't heard mine yet.
I looked at the
Read
trailer
the
and I
title.
was like, no.
All right.
I didn't.
Sasha, what
All
have
right.
you got?
So I am going literally classic. I'm going with 1960s Eyes Without a Face. And if you aren't familiar with this movie, which I am assuming most people are not, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So it's about a woman who is horribly disfigured in a car accident that her father, who's a surgeon, basically feels responsible for. So he starts doing what all good parents would do. He starts kidnapping other women who sort of look like his daughter and cutting their faces off and trying to transplant them onto his child so that she can like go off and have a normal life. LOL, like that's gonna happen. It's very dark, it's very twisted. She doesn't have a mouth, so all you see are these like gaping eyes sort of looking out at you, actually reminding me a little bit of Lupita, who I think is gonna get an Oscar nomination. I have seen Us, and it's crazy, and she is so good in it. And oh my God, Winston. But that's not the point. The point of this story is this. Yes, you're talking about like the bizarre sci-fi elements that he's drawn to, like with Twilight Zone, this movie has that. You're talking about the social commentary we saw in Get Out, this movie has that. And it also has the gory elements from Us, because at the time, censors wouldn't let the director go as far as they wanted to with actually like taking the faces off. And no, this is not like a Travolta, Nick Cage situation, although there is a really awesome thing where
Can
he
we just see
does
Dan and the Dan cam real quick and what they were doing? Thank you. Back to Sasha, please.
But it deals with something that I think Jordan Peele is actually really great at investigating, which is the true sense of self. Actually, what happens when you're inside your own skin, the discomfort in that, the inability to really have your own reflection reflected back. That's all of what Us is about. Like, who is the true self? And that's what this movie is about. It also features one of the coolest endings, which I think Game of Thrones stole, where the father is mauled to death, spoiler alert, by dogs. Dogs that have been like these foreboding guardians of this girl the whole time, and they're barking howls throughout this movie. I keep thinking about what he would do with a score to create something that would go along with those howls, the same way like the music in Us is so important, the music in Get Out is so important. This movie talks about what it is to be your true self. This movie deals with like all the stuff that you have to deal with in family, and it's exactly that same thing of a very simple setup. All you really see is a father who loves his child, helping her in all the wrong ways. And I think that that is a story Jordan Peele could tell incredibly well.
All right, Sasha coming in with Eyes Without a Face.
It's not just a great song. I dare you to get that out.
That's when I first found it.
Fight it out.
Let's start with Julia, because I really have to understand why you think anybody should touch The Shining.
Well, I think that we're talking about reboots, and we're talking about Jordan Peele, who so far has established himself as like a really great director with original stories, right? So if he's going to do a reboot, then I think it's going to be a big reboot. And Eyes Without a Face, like, you made a really compelling case. Like, I've never seen that movie before, and it sounds really awesome. But you also, I think, kind of argued your way out of winning because you're comparing it too much to Us. It sounds too similar to Us. If I was, you know, a moviegoer seeing that trailer, I'd be like, well, I just saw Us.
Well,
so what is
that's
this?
my
This
fault for
is
doing
Us?
a bad pitch, but you just argued yourself out of your thing because you said he's great with original storytelling, and The Shining is not just a reboot, it's also based on the
But the
Stephen King
question that
novel.
we're debating right now is
that's
what
not
is he going to...
original.
Well, the question we're debating right now is if he had to reboot anything, then I think that he would go big or go home.
I think that a movie that the Criterion Collection called... wait, what does it say? What did the Criterion Collection call it? Oh, a brilliant... wait, what is it?
Well,
it's rare in film history for its odd mix of ghastly and lyrical. It was a major influence on the genre in the decades that follow. The images here of terror, of gore, of inexplicable beauty are ones that have never been forgotten. And I think that that is going big. On the other hand, why would he do Candyman and do Tales from the Hood? Why?
He's not directing Candyman.
Doesn't matter. He's involved in it. He's producing it. It's under Monkey Paw.
Well, I think with Tales...
It's like the same thing.
No, it's not.
It's very similar.
Tales from the Hood is a
it's
horror
urban
anthology,
horror.
and with Twilight Zone, he's producing that. He's the face of it. He's a creative producer involved in it.
So then
and
why not do a Twilight Zone version of Tales from the Hood?
That's essentially what the Tales from the Hood, his reboot, would be.
But
Tales,
is that also, do you
with,
think Tales from the Hood is a classic horror movie?
It qualified for this question, so I think it's just fine. You see, I think with your guys'
feel like
movies,
I'm
though...
at like Thanksgiving at my divorced parents' house. Sorry, I just had to say. It's like I'm getting a lot of triggers. I had therapy yesterday. I wish I had it tomorrow.
no, listen, the thing with
Does that make me the weird uncle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Hal, you're everybody's favorite weirdo.
You're wearing a blazer.
The thing with The Shining and Eyes Without a Face, those movies are already great movies.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't need to be remade. Tales from the Hood is the one movie out of this whole panel that had the potential. It is the only one here that doesn't have a certified fresh Rotten Tomatoes score, but a decent audience score.
But don't you think it's a little on the nose? And you made an
How's it
argument.
not? What do you mean by on the nose?
I don't know. I looked at the trailer. I must admit that I've not seen Tales from the Hood, but I looked at the trailer and it seemed a little bit more comedically leaning than horror leaning.
It's much
And that's
more-
why a remake would make it different.
It's basically you're taking Keanu and you're taking Candyman and you're turning it into Tales from the Hood. And I
That's
don't
not
think,
true. That's
what you're
so-
talking
that's
about
just
is
not true at
you
all.
want something that deserves to be remade, right? Because the point of doing a remake is to find a wide audience again. Eyes Without a Face is an incredible film, and how many people in this room have seen Eyes Without a Face? Dan Murrell, have you seen Eyes Without a Face?
No one has seen Eyes Without a
Nobody has
Face.
seen it.
Okay,
This
so
is like, because Filmstruck no longer exists, that's a kind of film that I think
the
absolutely
reason
deserves
Eyes
a remake
Without a-
because it
the-
needs
All
to get an
Filmstruck
audience.
is a completely different argument.
That's
We
the
had
R.I.P. Filmstruck.
we had Filmstruck for a while, and we still didn't watch Eyes Without a Face. So I think that says
The,
Which is why
reason
Jordan Peele needs to take it
the
on.
reason my movie fits best with what Jordan Peele has stated he wants to do. He wants to do movies that focus on psychological social commentary. Get Out has a sci-fi element infused in it. I'm hearing Us has a little bit more of that, and I think this would be a great transitional step for him because this has more supernatural elements involved in it. This is more along the lines of what he actually wants to work on. Your movie, I feel like Cronenberg.
Untrue, because on the Monkey Paw website, they say their mission statement is they want artistic, thought-provoking projects, groundbreaking storytelling,
Who's we?
visionary world building. This is
royal
Monkey Paw.
we.
Production
This is
company.
the production
Jordan
company.
Peele's production company.
Visionary
I'm
world
talking
building
about a
and
Jordan Peele
unpacking
interview I read
contemporary
about.
social issues. Tales from the
You know
Hood
it's the
is
same
largely
thing. Don't be
considered
pedantic.
something that was sort of in the... There was a period of time where, like, in the 90s, Don't Drink Your Juice While Being a Boy in the Hood, like, movies like that started coming out, but it's not something that's revered in any way. I think that it's lowbrow.
It's very much-
lowbrow for
it's-
Jordan
it's
Peele.
got a call.
not
Had a
something-
had a sequel that
he
came
wants
out.
to do something that... Why can't you do Eyes Without a Face and have Lupita Nyong'o play the
Eyes
main
Without a
part? Why
Face
can't you do
feels
Eyes
like
Without a
it'd be a
Face
better
and set it
Cronenberg
in-
movie than a
No,
Lynch
that
movie
version
than it
we
would
already
be.
have.
I just think
We
that it's
wanna
too
set it
close
in
to
an
us.
If we already
environment.
have that version, why do we need another one with Jordan Peele doing
I would like
it?
to point out.
Us is nothing like this movie.
I would like
And
to
I've
point
seen it.
out
It's nothing like
that
this movie.
they are shooting the sequel to The Shining, Dr. Sleep, and that's coming out, and this could
That's
be a
exactly
good
why we
little
don't need
double
a Shining
feature.
movie. We don't need
No,
they already had a
it would
6-hour
come.
remake of The Shining made for TV. That
I'm
was
not
terrible. That was
enjoying
more
this.
faithful adaptation.
Okay.
Let's shift gears and move to our final thoughts. Greg.
Yeah. I think Jordan Peele is clearly drawn to films that have a surreal element but are grounded in realistic situations and people. Tales from the Hood is the perfect vehicle for him to really reach into the bizarre and do what he does best, but even more. Take that symbolism to a more overt degree. We've had some wonderful horror anthology films in the past. Creepshow was wonderful, but then there are horror anthology films that are met with high acclaim but don't really get that box office acclaim at first. They always get a cult following. You slap Jordan Peele's name on it, people will tune in for it. That's why Twilight Zone, we're all very excited for it. This movie is right up his alley, and he can improve upon something that was only fun and entertaining into something that is truly horrifying and effective. Dealing with anthology tales with an African-American focus, exploring police brutality, domestic violence, gang violence and incarceration, racism and politics, all being infused with individual supernatural twists for every story, allowing for a different subgenre. If you were to announce this remake, there is only one director who could do it, and that's Jordan Peele. The Shining is an already amazing film that had a 6-hour remake and is having a follow-up. They're beating that to death. Eyes Without a Face is a great film. It was very effective for its time, and it's as effective and eerie as it once was already. Those don't need to be remade. Your films don't need a remake. And if you were to remake those films, I don't think Peele is the right pick for it. Your films already have a lot of acclaim. This one can actually use an improvement. And my pick suits Jordan Peele the best. This is the only movie that could be heavily improved upon. And the fact remains, the social commentary tried exploring in the 90s, it's still relevant in the African American community today, showing it lends itself to a modern day reboot. Black issues are more at the forefront than in the 90s, so this one just makes the most sense for a director who's very vocal about being passionate about these kind of stories.
I think
Thanks,
Greg
Greg.
needs a time limit. Greg talks too long.
Thank you, Sasha. Julia.
Damn. Well, I think I've already established myself as being in the back of this race, but I'm going to take a stab anyway. So yes, why does The Shining need to be remade? That is a big question that I think I started to address at the beginning. I think that if there is going to be any reboot that's going to be a Jordan Peele reboot, again, go big or go home. And I think that he could add a lot to, the different conspiracy theories that have sort of swirled around The Shining since its first release. I don't know if you guys have seen the documentary Room 237, but I think about it a lot. I think that it's like a perfect example of, artist creation versus audience reception. I think that there could be some fun with Jordan Peele's own personal reception of The Shining and, how he kind of plays with the psychology of, being slowly going into madness, the psychology and the social commentary of like what it's like to be a man, what's it like to, be this family unit, what's it like to, who is the us, who like the personhood. I'm botching my words today. And I just think that it would be really, really interesting. I think that Eyes Without a Face, again, like it sounds like a badass movie, but I feel like that as a reboot is too far in the past for it to be an effective reboot. I think we all learned a thing or two about Murder on the Orient Express, and we don't need a reboot of things long forgotten. And that's all. That's all I got.
All right, thanks, Julia. SASHA, PERL-RAVER.
I think that something that is maybe forgotten by some but still revered by others is exactly where Jordan Peele should take the next step. I think that for him to do Tales from the Hood would be a step backward, and I think that, Greg, you're basically saying because he's a black director, he can only direct a film like that. And the truth is to have him take something that was a French cutting-edge film at the time and create something that is so tangible. Like we're talking about, the things that he makes so eerie and frightening are things that we recognize. Meeting the parents for the first time, going on a summer vacation. To feel like you are trapped in your own home and the person you trust the most is the person who can hurt you the most, those are things that I think everybody can relate to. That is a universality that Jordan Peele would absolutely crush in making a film. And when we are most frightened, it's because we see ourselves reflected. And I think that that is his greatest power. I don't think we need a story that takes place in the hood to understand that we are being reflected or that a story has social commentary. I think having a story about a woman who has no voice is actually extremely socially relevant right now. And I would love to see what Jordan Peele could do with that. And on top of it all, to have a film that could ignite passion for this filmmaker and for the genre in a new way, I am all for. And that's why it's the best choice for him.
Ding, ding. All right, that is our round one. Let's head over to the Fact Zone with Dan Murrell, the Minister of Facts.
Over here at the kids' table. If that's Thanksgiving dinner, this is Daniel at the kids' table.
Why is everyone shouting? I just wanted more mashed potatoes.
Very opinion-based round here. I will say that recently Jordan Peele had a bit of a social media a moment when he dressed up as basically wearing Jack Nicholson's clothing from The Shining for a press day for us. People were noting that, and as social media does, immediately speculating as if he's dropping a clue for his next movie. That's how Twitter works. That's it as far as...
let me ask you one fact. What's the name of that film that saw the full name? Don't drink your juice in South Central while...
Don't be a menace to society while drinking your juice in the
South Central.
Or in the hood.
Yeah.
Wait, don't be a menace to society.
Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I mean, that film wins the award for most references to...
At least in the title.
Yeah, sending up... genre in 90s film. So, thank you, Dan.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, this was, I thought these were a lot of great choices. Julie, I felt like you kind of pulled the ripcord a little bit at the end, especially as you started making your argument, and you're like, well, I'm at the back of this race.
They just came in so strong, and I'm sorry to be
a
quitter.
for like 12 hours.
But
The opening and closing.
I also want to out myself
but-
and say that I don't think Jordan Peele should reboot anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
That's
yeah.
actually the
With
best
Greg,
answer.
it's a war of attrition. Like he just wears you down. It just wears you
In
down.
the middle of the actual argument, I have to come.
Guys, please. The time for making our arguments is over. Yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from. I thought the take on The Shining could be good, but yeah, so it came down to SASHA and Greg for me, and I think Greg made some great arguments, but I thought they started to chip away at your armor a little bit, and just saying it is like Julia and SASHA said it in different ways. It does feel a little bit on the nose that it is that it has to be this particular set of stories, and I feel like he could tell any story, a story that is rooted in black culture or about people of color, or a story that is just tangentially or whatever. The argument I got most excited about was SASHA's, just the story, Jordan Peele's point of view, and yeah, that gets my vote. Dan?
This is also between SASHA and Greg for me. Sorry, Julia, but
It's okay.
The Shining is a tough one. I will say that I am somewhat of an advocate for the ABC remake of The Shining. While it is not perfect, I don't think it's horrible. But that's just me.
I was just saying movie fights things.
I'm actually very torn because I was also somewhat swayed by the concept of maybe you're putting Jordan Peele into too much of a box and saying, But Greg also brought up that it's also in the wheelhouse that Jordan Peele said there's certain kinds of stories that I want to tell, and it could. I'm almost swayed by the sort of narrow focus argument, but I think ultimately because Greg brought up the fact that Jordan Peele has addressed in the past, like there's a certain type of thing that I'm interested in telling right now, that chips away at that enough just for me to go with Greg. But it's very close. I thought Sasha and Greg both had very strong arguments.
All right, we're locked up at 1-1. Danielle, what's the poll have to say?
It's going to be the one they've heard of.
As of right now, with 60%, Tales from the Hood.
Wow.
26% for Eyes Without a Face, and 13% for The Shining. Other things that were mentioned: People Under the Stairs, which I haven't seen in forever.
People Under the Stairs.
Blackula.
That's
And some of you,
mean.
and some of you folks just really wanted Wicker Man, and I don't know why.
Yes.
That's just
Right
Nicolas
on.
Cage
Yes.
over and over and over voting. he did that, right?
What? No Troll
Yeah, it was
2?
in the remake.
No Troll 2?
I didn't see any Troll 2.
All right. Tales from the Hood up to no good. Greg 1-0. Julia and Sasha looking to get on the board. Here is question number 2. Harmony Korine's The Beach Bum is now playing. What's the best movie featuring Matthew McConaughey? Best movie featuring Matthew
What a
McConaughey.
delightful question.
Looks so excited.
All right, let's return to the McConaissance, and we'll start with Julia.
Ooh, I'm so glad that we're starting with me. I picked Kubo and the Two Strings, baby! Oh, let me tell you about it, because maybe you forgot. It is the 4th film by the production studio or animation studio Laika, the same studio that brought us Coraline, of course, and Paranorman. And Matthew McConaughey plays this beetle character who's like this great samurai. And I watched a lot of videos of him in the booth recording, and he was like super stoked to be this like goofball action hero guy, and he did it for his kids. But I also think that apart from McConaughey's enjoyment of being in this film, that I think that it is a great technical achievement that also has a really strong story and was overlooked when it initially came to theaters, but deserves all of the awards and all of the clout today. So that's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Julia.
Yeah.
Sasha, what you got?
All right. I have a film that Quentin Tarantino listed as the 10th best film of all time in a Sight and Sound poll, alongside Taxi Driver and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I have a film whose soundtrack went double platinum. I have a film that gave us multiple catchphrases, all uttered by the one, the only, Mr. Matthew McConaughey. And that film is the film that got him discovered. That is Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused, come on, Wooderson! What you gonna do about it? One of the best films of all time. Let me tell you a personal story. I'm in like 11th grade, smoking weed in the back of a movie theater in Oakland, California, watching Dazed and Confused like every day after school, because it's one of the best movies ever. We're not just talking about the best Matthew McConaughey. We're talking about the best movie. Dazed and Confused gets better with age. Dazed and Confused is always fantastic. Dazed and Confused, Wooderson, it's where we got all right, all right, all right. It's where we got Just Keep Living, Livin, living. It's what gave us, that's what I love about these high school girls. They get older. I stay the same age. Come on! It's so fun. And not only that, do you know who else is in that movie? Ben Affleck, Joey Lauren Adams, and Renee Zellweger.
Parker Posey,
Mila Jovovich, Adam Goldberg, Nikki Cat, Cole Hauser, Jason London, Rory Cochrane. It launched so many people's careers. It is, in my opinion, the best Richard Linklater film. It is also the best Matthew McConaughey film. I love Dazed and Confused.
I gotta admit, I love the movie, but 2 of those people you named, I'm like, who dat? That's okay. I'm not going to electioneer on this. Around the Horn to Greg.
Yeah, I saw this movie actually only a couple months ago, the one that I picked, and it drastically moved me. It was one of those movies that after watching it, I started doing research to find out the truth behind it because it's based on a true story, and that's Dallas Buyers Club. And the movie, if you guys haven't seen it, I feel like, do I need to describe the plot of this? Would that help, or is it not necessary for this one?
Up to you.
Well, no, it's basically about a guy in 1985 in Texas, an electrician and a hustler named Ron Woodruff. He was diagnosed with AIDS, told he had 30 days to live, and he ended up finding an alternative, albeit a legal way, to keep on living. And he eventually works around the system.
L-I-V-I-N.
He eventually works around the system to help AIDS patients get the medication they need after they're diagnosed. This film was nominated for several awards. That includes Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Editing. It won 3 Oscars for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Makeup. And I feel like out of this panel, out of all the performances here, I feel like this is Matthew McConaughey's best performance. Out of the movies, I feel like this one is the most powerful one out of the 3 on this panel right now. This character in this movie he's a rather unlikable character, but he earns truly compassionate moments. There's no like save the cat moment with this character. And the writing of this film is insanely authentic. The structure of the screenplay and the editing spans so much time, yet in most biopics that feels overconvoluted, that feels like they're doing too much, but this movie does it in such a well-paced version. And the themes it deals with fear, rage, lust, addiction, the drive to keep on living, overcoming crazy obstacles of facing death, topics of homophobia. I just feel like there's so much nuance and power in this film. And it's a lot of darkness, yet I feel like it balances it out with a lot of heart and a lot of like really surprisingly earned laughs in the movie as well. So to me, it's just a very moving picture.
All right, fight it out.
The only movie on this panel that made me cry was Kubo and the Two Strings. That movie is brilliant. I love that movie. If you have not seen Kubo and the Two Strings, you must.
Boom, boom,
because
boom.
Laika is just the best, and that film is so brilliant.
Is that your favorite Laika movie?
It might be.
I'm just having a conversation with you.
It might be. I love Kubo and the Two
Totally
Strings.
not arguing.
And I love Dallas Buyers Club too. But when we're talking about like the best film, and it's not starring Matthew McConaughey, it's just featuring Matthew McConaughey.
Sure.
I feel like the movie, because I would have gone with The Time to Kill if it was the best movie starring Matthew McConaughey.
It's not about his performance.
He's great across the board, but I feel like the movie, you're not throwing on Dallas Buyers Club on a Saturday with your friends.
That was gonna be my point exactly.
You're going to throw on Dazed and Confused and watch it and have the best time. You want to talk about authentic? The kids' performances in those movies, Matthew McConaughey he'd done one other movie before that, but this was like a big breakthrough for him. A lot of it was improvised. His entire L-I-V-I-N speech on the football field, that was based on a conversation him and Linklater had about him and his dad. That's authenticity to me. I love Dallas Buyers Club. I think it's the Oscar choice. But if we're actually talking best, I think the answer is still Dazed and
You
Confused.
pretty much stole my argument away from you about Dallas
I'll
Buyers
have to
Club. I was
defend
going to
myself.
say that you kind of outed yourself by
Please.
saying that you had only just recently seen it, because I don't think that it's a movie that, while at the time we see it, and it's definitely like an Oscar baity movie that's like part of the race where it has like all the Oscar buzzwords of like a guy dying, like the AIDS epidemic, like Jared Leto, that's another buzzword. Like ding, 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 ring those bells, Dan, you know, like across the board it has everything. But I don't think that it's one of those movies where it'll stand the test of time. I don't think that we're going to revere it. I don't think that it's going to get a Criterion collection, if any. I think that it's going to be one of those, not like that's a barometer for the best movies of all time, but I think that it's going to be one of those where we're like, oh yeah, I did see that when it came out, and yeah, I did cry in the theater, but like I don't really remember it often, and I don't think that it's going to be the biggest stand-up for Matthew McConaughey's career. And I think that you've seen it so recently that you haven't really been able to give it the test of repeat viewings, and I think that that speaks to the films that we're talking about today. Kubo and the Two Strings, I did say earlier that I don't think that it was seen by many people when it first came out, and it was given what it deserved. But I think that different to Dallas Buyers Club, that people are going to rediscover Kubo and the Two Strings, and like really marvel at that specific kind of animation, which is freaking hard, you guys. Like it's so hard what they do, the technical achievement of Laika, and the fact that they are producing Pixar level, or they're neck and neck with Pixar, of those stories that are pulling at the heartstrings. They're always about a family. They're always about this protagonist that, is down on their luck. But I think that what makes Kubo stand out is that it's a Japanese story, so it's trying to bring, this other kind of diverse element to it. But then also they go edgier than Pixar in the fact that within like the first 5 minutes of this film, our main character gets his his eye gouged out, and then has to like save his mom, who's like, you know, lethargic and dying, and like all of this pressure is on his shoulders, and yet we don't feel like that is really gratuitous and trying to, like, I don't know, be pulling at our heartstrings in a way that isn't earned. So I feel like that is going to be the thing that stands the test of time. And then, of course, Dazed and Confused is a great movie, and I probably would have picked it if you hadn't already, but I don't think that some of the, you know, gender dynamics and some of the commentary regarding sex ages well. So
I feel like it kind of has what's kind of some of the John Hughes movies are kind of going through right now, where there's elements of that feel very misogynistic. I feel like there's elements of it that kind of glorify bullying, and I feel like it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie.
What glorifies bullying when all the kids are getting spanked with the paddles? It was of the time, Greg.
That's what we would say with John Hughes movies.
That's what our racist grandparents will say when they defend themselves.
My grandparents are all dead.
And with also with Kubo and the Two Strings, you were talking about, you know, covering Japan and having diversity when it's a movie in Japan, but majority of the cast are like white voice actors in that movie. And to me, that really takes me out of it. I did my DNA test results recently. I'm 70% Asian, so I take slight offense to that it's primarily a white cast in there.
I don't think that's relevant to the conversation.
The thing about, really quick, see, with Kubo and the Two Strings, I feel like with that movie, we all talk about the greatness of the animation, but I feel like the plot itself is rather generic. I feel like that it's a really by-the-numbers thing. And I think with Dazed and Confused, yeah, it's fun. They get high. Ha ha ha. I like getting high too, but it's just a fun movie. But with Dallas Buyers Club, this is the most nuanced of them all, and it has the most, and it's an important film, I think.
There's nothing nuanced about Dallas Buyers Club.
How can you say that?
The store swells, and they're like, start crying, bitch, start crying, here it comes.
Let's move into, Julia, roll this right into your final thoughts.
I just want to say, I have to bring up the Jared Leto thing again, because I think that is a glaring thing that you cannot just skip over when you're talking about Dallas Buyers Club. If you're going to come at me and say that not enough Asian actors,
Right.
Not enough Asian actors voiced in Kubo and the Two Screens. Jared Leto is not a transgendered person, and playing a transgendered person on such a big stage that there was a whole petition after this movie came out that they didn't even open up the auditions or focus on it. So I just want to say Kubo and the Two Strings rules.
Is that your final thought?
I thought you were wrapping me up.
Just to complete your final thoughts, please.
Yeah. I just want to say that Leica is a company that is doing the Lord's work. It is they're produced out of Portland. They're not produced out of LA. In a lot of ways, they feel like an indie studio, and in a lot of ways, that's true because, you know, even though, as I said earlier, they're pretty much neck and neck as far as quality and you know, with story and with execution as Pixar, they're the little guy compared to Pixar. So I feel like, you know, we need to go see movies like this so that this kind of animation is still produced, because it's just not happening at all. 2D animation isn't happening, stop action animation isn't happening, and that's going to go away in the ways that, you know, a lot of the other kind of stories that we love to see in TV and movies are going to go away. We need to support it so that those kind of artists who have a very specific trait can continue to do their work and transfix audiences the world around, you guys.
Oh, thanks, Julia.
Yeah.
Sasha?
So here's the thing. I love Leica, and I totally agree with absolutely everything you said. And I think the Dallas Buyers Club is a good, if schmaltzy, movie. The thing is somebody totally could have voiced that character, and it didn't have to be Matthew McConaughey. And somebody totally could have played Ron Woodruff, or whatever his name was, and it didn't have to be Matthew McConaughey. No one else could have played Wooderson than Matthew McConaughey, and that's because he was playing himself. He played himself with a mustache and a different pair of jeans. He did something that made us all fall in love with him. That was his star-making turn, and it was truly Matthew McConaughey at his Matthew McConaughey-ist. And this is how good it is. This is how iconic it is. It is so iconic that, JTE, can you throw up the picture that I took when I walked into the studio? It's on the mini fridge in Screen Junkies. That's how good it is. Hey man, can you replace the drink you took with the new can? It'd be a lot cooler if you did. That's iconography. That is the power
It is great.
of Matthew McConaughey.
But to be clear, we're not talking about Matthew McConaughey's performance. We're talking about the movie itself.
No, it's the best movie featuring Matthew McConaughey. Iconic. And Dazed and Confused is just a damn classic, and I guarantee in 10 years you will still be watching Dazed and Confused. You will not still be watching Dallas Buyers Club.
Thank you, Sasha. Greg, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think Dazed and Confused, like I said, it's the oldest one of these three. So it has a better chance of being the more iconic one of them all. And I think it's a fun movie. It's entertaining, but it doesn't really have much. It's not much that goes on in it. I feel like it's a stoner version of American Graffiti. And I think American Graffiti is a better movie than it.
You don't mean that.
Yeah, I do.
If you're comparing something to American Graffiti, it's
Okay, it's
still
final thoughts. Final thoughts
here.
Yeah.
And I do think, I really do think when I look back on it, it glorifies bullying. It's very misogynistic. I think Kubo and the Two Strings, while it's a great animated movie, it's very by the numbers. And I watched the movie Coco, and I'm like, they're kind of similar, and I prefer Coco over it. Dallas Buyers Club, there's a reason that out of any of the films here, it was the only one nominated for Best Picture. I really don't think saying that you can't just say Matthew McConaughey, anyone could play that role. He won the Oscar for that performance in the movie.
Suicide Squad has an Oscar.
Okay.
Again, it's no talking during the other person's final thoughts.
Sorry.
He won the Oscar for it, and it was nominated for everything, for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Editing, for a reason, because the movie as a whole is great. You can't, it's like, if it was only Matthew McConaughey's performance that was good in the movie, only he would have gotten nominated. But the reason all these other nominations happen is because the movie is a very powerful film. Your films are lighthearted and fine, and maybe more rewatchable, I'll give you that. But I think when I'm thinking about the best movie, I'm thinking about the one that will really stick with you and move you in a way that feels important. It can actually kind of teach you something about life. It's a dark, heavy drama, but it's surprisingly balanced with a lot of tender heart and just the right amount of humor. And I feel like with Dazed and Confused, I could watch a lot of coming-of-age movies that make me feel the same way. Kubo and the Two Strings, same thing. I could watch a lot of animated movies that have the same kind of messages. I haven't seen a movie like Dallas Buyers Club. It's honest, it's haunting, it's moving, it sticks with you, and not only do you go on an emotional journey, but you learn quite a bit along the way. And last thing I'll add, my film was the only one that actually won Oscars and stuff. So, yeah.
Oscars.
Time.
It's not
There we
merit-based.
go. Dan, what's going on in the fact zone? And then please give us your thoughts on this question.
Not much to add from the fact zone. Other movies in Quentin Tarantino's top 10 included William Friedkin's Sorcerer, The Bad News Bears, and Carrie. He had a cool, weird list. Not a bad one,
For a
just
weird
a
man.
very unique dude. My thoughts. I thought it was a close fight. Honestly, what put me over was Greg's final thoughts, but not for Greg. I feel like so much of the final thoughts were tied into like, well, it's the best because it won this, and it's the best because of Oscars, and it's the best because of awards. And I felt like to focus so much of your final argument on just that element and just being like, this proves that it's the best. I found myself more swayed to Julia or Sasha because they actually went into the film a little bit more beyond just like prestige, etc. That's one element. So it was between Julia and Sasha for me, and I really love Julia's passion for the art of Kubo, but I felt like it was more for Laika and that medium. And I felt like Sasha's made a lot of points with Dazed and Confused. The fact that it leveraged his personality. It is a movie that people remember. I don't think it's a classic just because it's old. I think it has resonated with people. So lots of different balanced things for me to think about. But ultimately, I went with Sasha and Dazed and Confused.
I'm pretty much in lockstep with you here. I think Dallas Buyers Club's a great film. I think Greg made a strong case, but then they took some shots at it about how it doesn't quite hold up afterwards, and there's certain things you could pick apart about it. So, and I didn't feel like we really hit back with that. True. Sasha, I felt like had the most passion about her film, and it is great, and it is great. It's great link letter. It's got a great soundtrack. There's a lot of elements going. Julia, you just make me want to donate my time and efforts to animation. But Sasha, I go with you. Sasha gets the point.
Like is the best.
Danielle?
I should also say that I'm married to an animator.
Thank you for that.
Really? Did you work on Kubo?
No. He works in other stuff, but.
Danielle, what'd the polls say?
Okay, coming in hot. What? And 38% it was Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh yeah!
32% for Dazed and Confused, 29% for Dallas Buyers Club. Some other suggestions: A Time to Kill, Interstellar, Magic Mike, and inexplicably Tiptoes.
I know, Tiptoes.
Oh my gosh.
I thought about doing Tiptoes.
If you're not familiar with Tiptoes, Google Tiptoes, and and then.
Let me tell you, I had a big argument with myself around the Magic Mike thing because I don't think I didn't consider it, people.
I know, so did Burt.
But it's such SASHA, it's really a Channing Tatum movie. It's
I had a hard time with this because I have not seen your guys' movies at all.
How
I was
have you not seen Dancing
what do people not like about these movies? Yeah.
This is the best. Come over, Greg. Come over. We're getting stoned.
hang on
What
to
to
the-
do?
oh,
Yeah, fire up a fat bowl and check out
So
Dazed and
that'd be fun.
Confused.
Good, yes.
By the way, I'd say the best thing Matthew McConaughey has ever touched is True Detective, but that's just me,
That
and that's
wasn't
not a
a film.
movie. It's not a movie. Okay. Question 3. We are tied 1-1. Julia looking to get on the board.
Looking to get on the board.
Here we go.
got this.
According to franchise producer Lorenzo di Bonaventura, Transformers.
Can you do that again?
According to franchise producer Lorenzo di Bonaventura, Transformers may begin having sexual relationships in upcoming movies. What in the world?
Good day to be alive.
Oh my God. So these robots are going to be boning. So we
That
want to
means I'm
know
going to start watching those.
which two robots should have sex in a movie. Which of any robots? Which two robots should get it on? And we're going to start with player number 3, Sasha.
Sausage PERL-RAVER. I was thinking about the Transformers movie where you do see the balls. There is a Transformers balls reference already.
They were setting it up.
Oh, they were letting us know they're going to
Planting the
totally
seed.
correct. So I spent way longer than anybody should considering this question. And what I came up with was I would like to see our beloved C-3PO finally bone down with Ava from Ex Machina. I think that they deserve each other. I mean, Ava is somebody who has been abused. She was locked away for her entire life. She was forbidden to see any color outside of her black and white room. She was controlled. She was given so little freedom. And her sexual power was her one way of getting freedom, getting out. She had to use it to lock Caleb in that room and run away. And now all she needs is a good man. Now, who's a good man? A good man is somebody who understands human-cyborg relations. Somebody who perhaps has had a little bit too much excitement for his own liking, but who is designed as a protocol droid. You know what protocol droids do?
What do they do?
They want to please, baby.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Please. That's right. He understands etiquette. He understands customs. He says he's fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. You want to tell me that sexual healing isn't one of them? To that, I say, no, sir. I know it's in there. We have here 2 broken souls who are just looking for a little tenderness in this cold, cold world. And I believe that they are meant for each other.
All right, Sasha coming in with C-3PO
We're getting demonetized.
and
in this video.
Ava from Ex Machina. Greg, around the horn to Greg.
Okay, Sasha, I intentionally shortened my opening and closing for Dallas, so I could take a little more time on this. My closing will not be as long, I
Oh, I
promise.
can't wait.
All right,
now,
guys.
This one, take your time. Talk
I'm just
slow.
going to let mom and dad
Talk
talk again.
slow.
Alrighty,
Pull up a
guys.
chair, kids.
I never got to talk, so this is going to be good.
This one gets weird.
All right. Imagine this, guys.
Ready?
Jude Law's. Danielle, I haven't even started. No, I don't want to hear it, Greg. Cut it out. Okay, imagine this. Jude Law's Gigolo Joe from AI, his opening scene in AI, where he's helping a human female customer, and he's a prostitute, by the way, feel comfortable about
I
having.
think we got it.
Gigolo Joe is a prostitute.
Just for people who don't know what
I
a
thought he
gigolo
was
is.
a
Prostitute
kindergarten
is in his
teacher.
name.
Just for people who don't know for
What
sure.
is that?
Some
The
people
new
don't know what a
Mr.
gigolo is.
Rogers
You gotta
movie?
educate the kids. It's screen
Oh,
junkies.
Tim the whore sells sex?
He's a horse. Yes. Did you see that spitful out of the house?
Yes. All right, sorry.
All right. So he, in the opening scene of AI, he's helping a human female customer feel comfortable about having sex with a robot. And in that scene, we see a man who's charming, great at human connection, a willingness to be vulnerable, and in a casual way slips in the line where he says he's never had sex with a robot. That's a real line in the movie. Then after that scene, he walks outside. This is where I come in. After that scene, he walks outside. Suddenly, lightning starts to appear between 2 trucks. A small hole in the ground forms. An electric-like sphere takes shape, and suddenly a buff, naked man appears kneeling. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-800 from Terminator 2. Gigolo Joe gazes upon this man with pure wonder, admiring his muscular sculpture, although he thinks it's a man. He told himself he'd never sleep with a robot, but even robots can have a change of heart. Mine is a hot erotic thriller set before the events of Arnold going back to 1995. The time machine thing that Skynet developed accidentally set our T-800 to an alternate world where machines and humans coexist. So my movie is like a sci-fi 50 Shades of Grey with some hot man-on-man action. Gigolo Joe seduces the T-800 who didn't realize he had sexual impulses programmed into a cybernetic organism living tissue over metal endoskeleton. But it's more than sex. Gigolo Joe wants to break down the T-800's emotional walls and get him to open up. The more he tries, the harder the T-800 resists, which always leads to more sex because that's the only way the T-800 can express himself. The T-800 is programmed to go save John Connor, but he's caught between two worlds. Gigolo Joe, who is still called Gigolo Joe, and having to save John Connor. It's canon because at the end of the movie, Gigolo Joe must let him go so he can go to his Earth's timeline to 1995. And in order for him to do that, the T-800, who Joe calls Big T by this point in the movie, has to rewire his programming again by turning off his emotions. It's a movie about lustful inner desires that we repress, like machines being told to not have emotions.
Hey, can I ask a quick question before we move on?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Go for it.
How long have you been working on that?
I'm sorry.
It all came right to me right when I got this
All right,
question.
Julia, let's hear yours.
I was going to ask.
Oh, yes.
Who are you neglecting in your life in order to write that? Is what I was wondering.
Plenty of people.
Great. So I guess after that fucking play, I can only say a little bit about my choice. I chose C-3PO and R2-D2.
That's all we have time for.
Yep.
Just kidding.
We're talking. This is a twosome that the world has been waiting for ages. I thought that Sasha, you made some really great points about C-3PO being well versed in many different love languages. You know, he is built for pleasure, all those things. But I think that he is also very prudish and very scared, and he needs a really friendly face to kind of guide him through, this new relationship. So we're talking. This is the robotic Call Me by Your Name. This is the robotic Brokeback Mountain. This is, it's not just like passion in the sex, but it's a passion of the mind,
Yeah,
you could see those two lives interacting, those two souls, weaving together. And I think that it's going to pull at the heartstrings as much as it's going to pull at the other parts of our bodies. Yes. Thank you for punching up my joke.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right, let's fight this up.
Right now.
Let's fight this out a little bit.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to see Burt and Ernie bone down. I feel like you need to bring a stranger in. And I feel like R2 and C-3PO, it's a little like Burt and Ernie. And I don't want to be in Burt and Ernie's bedroom.
I feel like they'd be like asexual,
I think that Burt and Ernie
they're
is
just
too
too good of
sanitized
friends.
for what they are.
I don't know. I feel like they're pretty sanitized. Like Ava, all she was made to do by the hot ass Oscar Isaac was bone, and she really needs to take R2 under C-3PO under her sexual wing and explore together. They need to find trust.
I think
They
he would
need to
have
find
performance
love.
anxiety. I think she's far too much robot woman for him to
No, I think
handle.
that's exactly the kind of woman he needs.
That's kind of why I don't want to see it though, because she was like the all in Ex Machina. She was sexually abused, and
Which is why she needs a tender lover, and
I just don't think
that tender lover.
I just
and
don't
feel
think
like
that's the case.
T-800 is literally going to look at Gigolo Joe. Something's going to happen, and he's going to blow him away. He's going to kill him.
Oh, he's gonna blow him away.
Walked right into
I
that.
think we have two different meanings rather.
I think we do too. I feel like
Right.
the walls are too high. The walls are too high with the T-800.
Oh no, but
I think-
Gigolo Joe can really bring those walls
No,
down. He
he's
is
just gonna
sensitive
kill
and
him.
soft.
I think
he can get you to communicate. Please.
I think Ava needs to be boned. I think that we all agree on this table that Ava needs to be boned.
I think she was
Like, I don't
boned.
think that is
She
something.
was.
No. But you know what I mean. Like, I think that she needs like a good tender bone. But I just don't think that C-3PO is going to be the one that's going to give it to her. Like, he's going to be like, it's going to be like,
I'm just going to make you feel good.
right. Well, it's going to be like.
It's not good. But
It's gonna be a who's on first situation where she's like, I want to bone, and he's like, well then bone then, and she's like, I want to bone now. Well then bone now. Like, he's not gonna get it in his brain. He's just gonna be like, wow, this wounded bird that I'm going to like take away from the situation.
6 million
It's
languages
not going
include
to.
boning.
I
I
just-
believe boning.
I'm
is
not
in
saying
there.
that he misunderstands what boning means. I'm just thinking that he doesn't think that he's going to be that
How's
person to
he gonna
bone
do
her.
with R2?
Because they've
Clearly,
been companions
3PO
for
can't
so
have
long.
sex. I think that's what we've concluded with your guys' arguments. I
way.
have
I think R2 is just there for oral.
I have one question. Just go around. Describe just like what is their music playing, and what's
Oh, yeah.
what's
Can I ask a question?
the scenario
Is this-
of their first encounter?
Their first love scene.
Yes.
Okay.
Paint the picture.
Paint the picture.
And this will serve as your final thoughts.
Okay.
Great.
I need somebody to cue up some Marvin Gaye for me. It's not Let's Get It On, though. It's got to be something like, wait, maybe it's not Marvin Gaye. Maybe it's, you know what it is? It's 9 Inch Nails. I want to, it's Closer. So
Like
Closer is playing.
Yeah.
Closer's playing. And both of them look at each other and they're like, I don't understand. This is too, and they change the music. And they're like, no. Because they come toward each other. There's rain. It's sort of like in Top Gun. Take my breath away. Take my breath away.
You've named like 7 songs.
I'm sorry. I'm trying. These fools have time to think about it. Okay.
I'm listening.
And she slowly starts to kiss him. And he doesn't even know how to open his mouth. The metal is clunky.
You're making your argument against yourself.
And she uses her humanoid hands to bring him closer and soften him. And for the first time, R2 realizes that cold metal on the outside has just needed a tender touch. That's all he's wanted. He slides himself down, and the next thing you know...
Okay, we can stop there. All right. Yeah, please stop before you get fully X-ray, before you give us an X rating.
But they're doing it under a waterfall.
That's a short circuit.
Yeah.
Greg.
Yeah.
I have to describe a scene.
Well, have you been
Right.
here?
I'm just confirming.
Stop fighting for time!
Just the...
I want to say Dan Murrell looks like he's having the best time in the world right now. Look at him. He's just so happy.
Let's just.
Yeah. So it's in their first scene. They're inside of a hotel room.
Their first
in the,
connection,
in the AI room, right? And Arnold's like, I'm not programmed to do this. But what he does to make him feel vulnerable, Gigolo Joe, is what he does. He starts taking off his dermis, revealing his bodily metal underneath, and then Arnold does the same, like in the Terminator 2 scene where he cuts off the skin from his arm, but he does it with his whole body. It's just their heads, their faces of Jude Law and Arnold. And then they make sweet, just the hot, like...
All right, before we get X-rated, we're going to cut right there.
Really quick,
Oh, is there a song playing?
I just want to say
what song is playing?
my movie is called AI Automaton Intercourse.
Okay, and what song is playing when they get it on for the first time?
The Pony.
Yes!
Yes.
Yeah, well. Pony's always playing when people have sex. Anyway,
Too often.
I just want to point out one thing. You said R2 when you meant C-3PO.
I did. I'm sorry. I
If that was
apologize.
such an important choice for you, I feel like you wouldn't have messed up. I also want to point out in your examples, it makes absolutely no sense why these two characters have found each other. It just feels really gratuitous that you wanted this sort of man-on-man robot scene. My two characters, I'm doing my final statements, baby. My two characters, it makes total sense. They've been companions for aeons. We don't even know. And I feel like, and we also aren't sure if they're even homosexuals. But I feel like maybe they are curious. And when you are curious, what do? You try it out on your friends, y'all. So here they are on the planet of Hoth. It's all cold. Ooh, it's cold. I need to nestle close with my body. Ooh, what's this? Oh, a lingering touch. And, Pony plays. So that's basically, that's my sex scene.
All right. Wow.
That was beautiful. I'm so...
Dan, any robot sex facts?
No. We do know roughly how long R2-D2 and C-3PO have known each other because we see their first meeting. It's,
Do we know that
yes.
R2 is a boy?
I mean, what is gender? I want to say that Joe Starr texted me in the middle of this and he said, call me by your mainframe would have been the name. So I want to give Joe Starr the point for that.
Right on,
Joe.
Good call. So these were all really fairly off-putting and funny as well. Very funny and interesting. But at the end of the day, I think I got to go SASHA on this for just the. You had one line that spoke to me.
Oh, hit me with it.
Broken souls coming together. Like, I don't know.
That's true.
That gave me a poignancy that none of the others.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Fair.
because of that,
That's
I'm going
fair.
SASHA. Dan.
I think that
He doesn't want to play.
the other no. I think that the other pitches, Sasha's and Greg's, were like just two random robots, and Julia had an actual reason behind her pitch, and I love Calling Me by Your Name. It's a great movie. So I'm gonna
Sounds like
All right,
go with the
me
one
too.
that I think I could salvage out of
get the
this, which would be Julia's.
One for Julia. Danielle, please make sense of this for us.
All right, well, these numbers aren't going to do it,
Okay.
but at 62%, we've got Gigolo Joe and
Damn.
200. At 26% R2D2 and C3PO, and at 11% C3PO and Ava.
So what
Gotcha.
happens in
So,
the-
Danielle, it's up
decides.
to you to decide.
These were all certainly things I will think about all night. But since I can only pick one, I have to agree that as compelling as a lot of these were, I feel like Julia's had more. I just feel like it had a better backstory and why it would happen, and it felt more fleshed out than just flesh. So I agree with Julia.
All right.
All right, Julia, you take the points.
So much.
great.
And any particularly great answers from the Peanut Gallery, Danielle?
No, they're flabbergasted.
Great.
I'm just glad we got it.
All right, here is our tie break. We are tied up at 1-1-1. This is a great moment in sports. So we will ask a tie break question, and then Dan, Danielle, and myself will decide who does not move on to the speed round, okay? And the tiebreaker works just like the speed round. I will ask the question, shout out your answer, and then we will you will get to elaborate on your answer in the order in which you answered. You get 20 seconds, then back around, same order, 10-second rebuttals.
Gotcha.
Okay, here we go. This week saw the release of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. What is the best movie directed by Quentin Tarantino?
Pulp Fiction.
Django Unchained.
Sorry.
Pulp Fiction.
Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Kill Bill 1 and 2. Can we accept that as one film?
Quentin Tarantino, to keep with his established, he said he would make so many films before he died, and he himself has retroactively determined that Kill Bill is one film. So
All right.
I think we have to go by his wishes and say that Kill Bill 1 and 2 counts as one complete.
Great.
Thank you, Dan. The order is Sasha, Greg, and Julia. All right, Sasha, 20 seconds begin as soon as you speak.
Pulp Fiction is Quentin Tarantino at the height of his powers. It's needle drops, it's visual iconography, it's incredible performances, it's major pop culture. It gave us things like Samuel L. Jackson with his Bad Motherfucker Wallet, and it gave us an uneven timeline. It changed filmmaking for the future. It is a film that is taught in film school. It is the reason many people choose to go into filmmaking. It is beyond anything else.
Greg.
Tarantino won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay for this movie. He was, at the hands of a director, he was able to get Christoph Waltz to help get a Best Supporting Oscar for the movie as well. This is a movie where it felt like Tarantino started taking a shift into not actually just doing only homages, but doing his own original material as well. And in this film, he tells a story of a real hero, a guy who rises.
Time. Julia. Yeah, good thing you have another bell down.
3 bells, and I think the one that doesn't work.
Kill Bill 1 and 2 is his first big blockbuster hit that really captured audiences, not just critics. And the fact that he was able to play with genre so fluidly for the same story. You know, the first one is more of like this, ninja kind of. The second one is Western, and it's great. That's all.
10-second rebuttal, Sasha.
Pulp Fiction resurrected Travolta's career. It put Bible verse into the lexicon. It made Son of the Preacher Man a song that we can all sing now. Django Unchained is racist. Kill Bill 1 and 2 is only, Volume 1 is the only one that's good.
Django Unchained is not a racist movie. There were black people involved with the film who really approved of the script. Samuel L. Jackson, Jamie Foxx, they read the script beforehand. And I also think that this movie is the one that has the most heart out of any of the Tarantino films. You feel a heroic triumph here.
Julia.
Kill Bill has a really great soundtrack too. I saw it with my boyfriend in high school. We had a really great time. It was a good event that got our friends together, and I can sit down and watch it with my mom, and that's really important to me as somebody who likes films.
3 great
You
films.
hang out and watch Kill Bill with your mom?
Good arguments. Danielle Radford, what do you got? Who is not moving on?
These were all fantastic arguments. I loved each and every one of them. If only, as much as I love the great relationship between you and your mom, anecdotes are not necessarily the best debate tactics.
For sure, a desperate woman goes to desperate means,
But I love it, and I will watch that with you and your mom, but for me,
Thank
Julia
you.
doesn't move on.
Yeah, I have to agree with Danielle. Julia, I enjoy listening to your thoughts on all of these movies.
You know what? Hey, some days, heavy as a head that once wore the crown. It's like, it's hard.
Hell yeah. So, despite having much fun listening to you, sadly, you will not move on to the speed round. Julia, thank you for being here. We are tied 1-1. Sasha and Greg are moving on.
Speed round with Sasha. Man, that's
Again.
intense.
Don't you remember last time? Wasn't I down like 3-1?
Yeah, and
It's about to be
you
again.
got up to 3.
It's about to be again. I hate
All right.
speed round,
Speed
man.
round's my
Relaxing
weakness,
now.
man.
No, it's not. You have no weaknesses, Greg.
All right, let's
Now
get
we're complimenting.
to it. It is 1-1, and the tiebreak did not count for a point. We are going in 1-1, and it works the same way. I'll ask the question, shout out your answers. You'll get 20 seconds and then 10 seconds.
Sure.
A new trailer dropped today for John Wick 3. We've seen John Wick with a dog friend, now a horse friend. What animal should he team up with in John Wick 4?
Kitty! Kitty!
Okay.
Kitty!
We have a cat. Greg?
I gotta get
Greg, what do you got?
I would say a cheetah.
That's
Okay.
a kitty. That's a kind of a kitty.
No. You meant house cat, correct?
Well, in my lexicon, kitty is all sorts of large animals. I was actually, but it's fine. I will take a house cat because I can argue the shit out of anything.
When you
with John
said,
Wick.
when you
Sam
said,
with Sasha.
No, because I got it.
Okay.
It's John Wick.
Great.
No, it's John Wick.
okay.
I need to go.
No, you can't, Julia.
All right, Sasha, 20 seconds begin when you speak.
The thing that was so incredible about the first John Wick was the love that he had for that tiny little dog. We don't need to see John Wick with a big, strong animal. We need to see John Wick with a small, tender animal because deep down inside, this is a hurt man who just loves his wife, who just needs to take care of something that he cares about. We don't need him to have a big, vicious beast. He is the big, vicious beast. We want to see him with something that he needs to protect, that he needs to keep safe. A little tiny Keanu kitty.
Sasha, you just argued against yourself. The question is about teaming up with an animal. You're talking about, you're saying your cat's not even going to do anything. A cheetah is a vicious animal, and then you can actually train those. I've seen a lot of videos on them with my girlfriend, and you can train those animals. They are fast attackers. In the John Wick 3 trailer, he's using dogs as an ally. Imagine upping the ante with a cheetah in that one, going after all these.
I just want to say really quick, nice girlfriend name drop.
Yeah.
With my girlfriend.
He wasn't watching those
So-
cheetah videos alone. Sasha.
Just want to make sure
10-second
that was
rebuttal.
heard.
Apparently, you don't own a cat because cats are vicious AF. My cat will totally attack somebody if I want them to. They can team up, but he can keep it safe. He doesn't need a cheetah. He can already go fast in a car. I want to see John Wick riding a car with a cat going shotgun.
If a puppy gets its ass kicked in the first John Wick movie, a kitty's gonna easily get its ass kicked in that movie. A cheetah could destroy a kitty, no problem. This is not even a real debate at this point. A cheetah's a vicious, ferocious animal.
Time. Dan.
I can stand. I needed to stand for John Wick.
I will agree with Greg. This is not a real debate at this point.
Was it the robot sex?
Well, yeah. I will go. Because of the team up aspect. I will go with Greg. I think he brought up a good idea. It's like it's not just you have an animal. It's the teaming up with an animal. And I heard more utility. Whatever, Greg.
Great.
Why am I explaining myself?
Danielle.
Greg, I'm going with Greg.
I thought these were both great. I do have to say that based on purely the argument where he mentioned that a dog did, which technically the dog didn't get his ass kicked. It was really sad, Greg.
It got stopped. It was
But I thought that was a great argument. I didn't really feel like there was too much of a good counter for that, so I'm going to go with Greg.
All right, Greg
Fair
takes
enough.
that point. It is 2-1
My passion got in
Greg.
the way.
Moving into question.
I love cats.
I
Question
just
number
love John Wick.
Question number 2 of the speed round. Bill and Ted 3 is a go.
Oh my God, you
What
guys! Stop! You're totally making me through this because you're giving me almost Keanu stuff. It's not fair. But I love it. Let's go.
Sasha, go break that.
Go break. Sasha, go break. Yes, Bill and Ted 3. Can't wait. Go.
Who should take George Carlin's place?
Oh.
What comedian could take George Carlin's place in Bill and Ted 3?
Bill Burr.
What? Okay, hold on.
We have Bill Burr.
You said what comedian could take?
What comedian could take George Carlin's place in Bill and Ted 3?
God, I gotta remember Bill and Ted.
5.
I wish I could answer.
Ali
4.
Wong.
Ali Wong.
What?
All right, we have Bill Burr. We have Ali Wong. Greg, 20 seconds begin when you speak.
When I watch George Carlin stand-ups about a guy who's like someone who's like ranting an awful lot and is very angry kind of ranting, but also has a lot of poignant things to say, I feel like Bill Burr is that for our generation today. So if there's one person to actually fill in the shoes of George Carlin, it's going to be Bill Burr. Ali Wong, her comedic style is just so much different than George Carlin. If you want to fill in, you want to do something.
I would like to thank Greg for making my point, because that's exactly what you want. You do not want to retread on the steps of the brilliant, the iconic, the unbelievable George Carlin, R.I.P. You want to go in a different direction, that direction being Ali Wong. You go funny, you go biting, you go to a small Asian lady instead of a big white dude. You totally turn the page, because this is going to be a reinvention. This is a whole new version of that. And I think that Ali Wong is so smart. She's so hilarious.
Well, I think female performers should be getting more work. I just feel like something like that would just set you up for a lot of backlash for just putting another female in for this male-driven character. And I feel like you could just write a different female character for Bill and Ted 3 to make it more exciting. Instead, just do the replacement. Time. Sorry.
This is not just filling in a female for the female's sake. It's because Ali Wong, I think, is one of the best, most cutting-edge comedians working right now. That's what George Carlin was back in the day when he got cast in this movie. That's the reason you want to put her in, not just because she's a funny woman, but because she's straight up funny.
Strong rebuttal, strong first argument. I'm going Sasha. Dan, what do you got?
I would tend to agree as well.
Sasha, you just tied this game up.
Nice.
It is 2-2. Here's
going
question
for it,
number
Sasha.
3.
What
Here we
else
go.
about Keanu?
All right. Keanu recently stated, I'm kidding. Rumor has it that Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is based on Burt Reynolds. So we want to know, Burt Reynolds or Leonardo DiCaprio?
DiCaprio.
Wish I could be here.
Well, I have to take Burt Reynolds now.
Okay. Greg said DiCaprio first. 20 seconds begin when you speak.
He's just demonstrated a whole lot more range than Burt Reynolds. He won the Oscar for The Revenant, which was just a body language performance. His performance in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, for example, the high energy infection of his performance in Wolf of Wall Street, that emotional intensity in The Departed. I think Burt Reynolds is just known for his personality and his charm, but he doesn't demonstrate as much nuance or depth or range as much as DiCaprio has.
Can I ask a question? I thought
Okay.
this was Who Would You Rather? Like, I thought it was literally like a Who Would You Rather bone.
We're off the sex, man.
Can I hear the question again?
Yes. Rumor has it Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is based on Burt Reynolds. So we want to know, Burt Reynolds or Leonardo DiCaprio?
In what context? Life?
Judges?
Judges? In what context are we talking about?
Filmography?
Yeah, just if you.
And
It's like a pick 'em.
as an actor.
As an actor.
As an actor.
however- yeah.
Because it is movie fights, these questions inherently have a movie or acting
I'm
bent
sorry.
to them.
The sex robots got in my way. Okay,
Yep.
I'm ready. Ready?
Yep.
Okay, you want to talk about personality, you want to talk about charisma. DiCaprio is absolutely great, but he is not Smokey and the Bandit. DiCaprio at this point is playing the same character over and over and over. It's all iterations of what he did in The Great Gatsby. He has not done something like he did in What's Eating Gilbert Grape in forever. What's Eating Wolf of Wall Street is just him screaming. Burt Reynolds has been able to outlast almost everybody. He is iconic. He is sexy. He is smart. He is funny. He can do...
Adano's like Irish guy in Gangs of New York is not the same as The Great Gatsby. The Aviator, the body language of the OCD mannerisms that he had in it, the criminal character that he played in Blood Diamond, for example. He can play the guys who are on top, but he can play criminals and villains like Django.
He wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for men like Burt Reynolds, who paved the way, who can be funny, who can be dynamic, who can be charming, who can be emotional. There's something that you need to... I'm falling. I'm done. I fold.
All right,
I totally thought it was a different question.
All right, I think
So
we
you'd
just
rather
give
do-
Greg that point because she gave up at the end.
I thought it was a
Judges?
sexuality question. Otherwise, I would have jumped on DiCaprio.
She threw in the
I threw
towel.
it in.
Yeah,
Threw in the
threw in the
towel.
towel.
I did.
All right, Greg, you
So
get
now
that
it's a
point.
must
It's
win.
3-2.
So you'd rather do Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, I would rather
Okay,
do Burt
gotcha.
Reynolds, but as an actor, definitely DiCaprio is better.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification.
True. But yeah,
In honor
Reynolds.
of Deadwood, which Western is better? Tombstone or Unforgiven?
Unforgiven.
Sasha with Sasha with Unforgiven, Greg with Tombstone.
So glad I'm not in this round.
20 seconds begin when you speak.
Unforgiven is Clint Eastwood taking everything he had learned in his career up until that moment and putting it into one absolutely perfect movie. The chiaroscuro of the lighting, the acting performances, the way it's shot, it was a modern Western at a time when those were not being done anymore. It reinvented that genre. It made something that will live on. It is multiple Oscar nominations, multiple Oscar wins, and that's because it is the best.
In terms of the Oscars, the same thing can be said for Tombstone. The performance by Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp, that outshined another movie that came out that year with Kevin Costner called Wyatt Earp, and yet Tombstone was the one that beat that film out. Val Kilmer's performance in that film is phenomenal, arguably his best he's ever done. It's an epic, sprawling movie. It's just so, like, the violence in it is so engaging. Michael Biehn is a villain.
You cannot talk about violence and not talk about Unforgiven, because Unforgiven's violence is bloody, it is terrifying, and it is the best film that Clint Eastwood has ever done in a movie. His career is like 70 years long at this point, and that's the movie I turn to every single time when you want to talk about greatness.
$1 Million Baby and Mystic River are way better than the movie Unforgiven. Whereas opposed to Tombstone, I would say that Tombstone is the staple for the Kurt Russell Western performances. He's still doing Westerns, and it's constantly referenced to the movie Tombstone.
Time.
That's a hard one.
That's a hard one,
because they're both actually really good movies.
Yeah, I have to go SASHA. I feel like Greg, when you said Tombstone's Oscar, like Tombstone, you want to talk Oscars? Tombstone. Unforgiven won Best Picture. Unforgiven won more Oscar. I don't know if Tombstone even won an Oscar. Comparing. I felt like we just got a little in the weeds there as far as comparing. And
makes movie fights more exciting.
SASHA had it for me. Dan?
I mean, I love Tombstone. It's one of my favorite movies. It had a famously bungled Oscar campaign. Val Kilmer should have been considered for that movie, and was not. Even though I love Tombstone personally, I would also go with Unforgiven. I just felt like we got lost in the weeds a little bit toward the end, and
I forgot
the
everything
stronger
about
case was made for Unforgiven.
Yep.
Here we
We
go.
are tied up.
This is it.
We took it to the limit, you guys. This one is for the ball game.
Is it about Keanu?
Please.
No.
Damn it.
Damn it, man.
Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes 3 will take place in the Wild West. What would be the worst possible historical setting for a Sherlock Holmes film?
God. This is...
The worst?
The worst.
The time of the Neanderthals.
The Neanderthals?
Thralls. Dolls?
Okay.
Julia,
cool.
correct me, please.
The time of the dinosaurs.
Okay, so we have cavemen versus dinosaurs. Okay. Great.
Can I say what I would have said?
Yes.
Woodstock 99, baby.
That's a good answer.
Who shot Limp Bizkit?
I'm immediately engaged. They found a nookie.
Watson, it turns out they did it all for the nookie.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh, God.
great. We had Greg first. Greg, 20 seconds ago when you speak. Neanderthal.
At least with the time of the dinosaurs, you get like a crazy horror element with the Sherlock Holmes having to deal with dinosaurs and stuff. With the Neanderthals, it's just going to be boring. This is about the worst thing. And there's going to be no mystery to solve. Someone gets hit with a rock. Oh, there it is. It's like there's literally nothing you can do if you had Sherlock Holmes around the Neanderthals, where you can actually get a cool genre slice.
Sherlock Holmes against the dinosaurs is literally him just standing there watching the herbivores get attacked by the omnivores. There's nothing he can do, and all he's going to be doing is running away. We don't need another Jurassic World. We don't need another Jurassic Park. Sherlock Holmes needs to be in London. He needs to be investigating things and doing heroin. There's no heroin. There's no opium. That is not the Sherlock Holmes we need and we love. We want to see him walking foggy streets. There's no fog even.
I agree the latter of your pitch would be a better Sherlock Holmes movie, but you chose the dinosaur one, and you're saying nothing interesting would happen. It's a human amongst the world of the dinosaurs. What an isolated, scary situation you got to figure yourself out of. That'd be a terrifying movie.
But it's not a Sherlock Holmes movie, and the question is what is a Sherlock Holmes movie? A Sherlock Holmes movie, if there's Neanderthals, there are still people that he can dissect. There are still people who can look at human nature. Human nature is what makes Sherlock Holmes great, and if you don't have humans, you don't have human nature.
Time. Danielle Radford.
Okay, I'm taking notes because I'm a nerd. I think that both of these were great, but I for me, SASHA really got it when she said it's about what is a Sherlock Holmes movie. What Greg was pitching about dinosaurs does sound great. It's an interesting genre film, but her thing about human nature, because one of the greats was when he mentioned one guy hits the other with a rock, and I feel like SASHA had a really good counterpoint to that, so I'm going with SASHA.
Dan?
It's fine. Dan Murrell won movie fights. He's not even on this panel.
No, I think that I actually agree with Greg's point that it's Sherlock Holmes running from dinosaurs. That sounds like kind of an exciting movie, more so than him solving crimes that should be very easy to solve. I think that of the two movies, I like the point, the fact that he said, like, well, at least you've got running from dinosaurs in one, so I'm going to go with Greg.
Greg said something that I found interesting. Like the cavemen will be hitting each other with a rock, killing each other with a rock. You do have a potential whodunit there if you didn't see what happened. Maybe that would give Sherlock something to discern. And I thought the dinosaurs was just so antithetical to what we see.
What's the worst idea? Wasn't that the idea?
Yes.
That's the worst idea.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying yes.
I give you the point, Sasha.
Sasha, you just won movie fight.
Do I mean Keanu?
No, you don't win Keanu, but you won movie fight.
That's so defensive.
Well played, Sasha. You know what? Thank you for your delight. Not since Danielle Radford laughing at puppets have we seen such delight on this show. Sasha, congrats. Well fought. Very funny and entertaining. Please give some shout outs. Tell us where we can find you.
You can find me every Friday hosting FX Movie Download on Twitter and Instagram at Sasha PERL-RAVER, and I think apparently having a rematch with Greg because now we're tied up 1-1.
Damn. 3, let's do this. Let's go down the line. Julia Prescott,
Hey.
always delightful.
Thank
always.
you. I tried my best.
Always super funny, and and I love the deep cuts you bring to the show.
Thank you.
Please tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at Julia Prescott on all the things. As you mentioned up top, I have a Simpsons podcast. It's Everything's Coming Up Simpsons. I host it with Allie Gertz, and it's on the Max Fun Network. And yeah, just check me out on Twitter. I post all my live shows and other stuff on there.
Super cool. Greg, awesome. Always great to have you in here.
Thanks.
You took it to the limit, you two.
Literally, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm at The Real Rejects on YouTube. I'm just so happy to be here. Sasha's such a force of energy that I try to match it when I'm up here with her. And literally, Julia, every single time I listen to movie fights and she's going, I will be like on the road listening to movie fights and I'll start bursting out into laughter. She's one of the funniest people to come on this show.
Thanks.
Hal Rudnick, follow him on Twitter. Charting with Dan, great episode this Monday. Danielle Radford, check out her Patreon page. She talks about wrestling. JT's cool.
Okay, so you guys don't have to
Dan, what do you think? What's Us going to take in at the box office this weekend?
Looking at around 50 million potentially.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
I'm seeing it in IMAX. No, I'm seeing it tomorrow night.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm very curious for people to see it. I really, really liked it, but there's a lot to talk about in it, and I'm super pumped for people to see it and start talking about it because I love that we get to like see them early for reviews and stuff. But like the only bad thing is that you have to sit with these movies sometimes for like a week or two, and you don't have anybody except for like the other people that have seen it to talk about it with.
Yeah.
So I'll be really excited for everyone to see it and like the discussions to start because I can't wait to read what people think and what they saw and compare notes and everything.
Yes, like let's get everybody talking and just hear all
And
the
if you don't
conversations
see
about
it,
this.
stay away from spoilers because it will absolutely ruin the movie for you.
Gotcha. Thank you for that tip. And Dan, you recommended a movie to me last week, the found footage documentary Apollo 11. And if you can find that anywhere, if it's playing near you, it is just this treasure trove of amazing footage that like you feel like you are eavesdropping.
It lost almost all of its IMAX screens when Captain Marvel came out, but I know at least here locally in Los Angeles, it's playing in a lot of theaters, regular theaters, and I think
A lot of AMCs.
A lot of AMCs. I think it's still somewhat nationwide, so you may not be able to see it in IMAX, but if you can still find it out there, I highly recommend it. It's worth your time.
Absolutely. It's startling. It makes you feel good about just humanity and hope and all that kind of stuff. Danielle Radford, thank you for holding it down. Please tell us some stuff.
Not a whole lot really to say. Greg really kind of covered it, except my podcast is also on the Max Fun Network. If you guys enjoy podcasts, it is the Max Fun Drive right now. This is the time of year when we're all trying to get everyone paid. So if you love podcasts, either do that or just share the ones you like with your friends.
Thanks, Danielle. And I am at Hal Rudnick on Twitter and Instagram. Dumb stuff about movies, I'll say it. So please follow me there. And shout out to Owl Nation. Hoot hoot. Thanks for watching.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it now.
It means what you want it to.
It's nice to have a nation.
Right?
You know?
Thanks for watching, you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.